Hi everybody, I'm Jared Pike. This is Shell Point Today for Tuesday, April 16th. On today's show, we visit Lakes Park in Fort Myers, where Sue Moore is offering a tour of the new Botanical Gardens. We'll also get a What's Cooking recipe from Eleanor Perkins. And we'll learn why people love the aquatic exercise classes in the island's health club pool. But first, we have a Health Connection class happening today, and it deals with varicose veins. Now, this may seem like just a cosmetic issue, but actually, it's a medical condition, and you'd be amazed at the treatment options available. Dr. Michael Karen is fellowship trained and specializes in vein therapy. He'll be offering free screenings and also advice on how to treat varicose veins. This happens today at 2 p.m. in the Woodlands Oak Room. Make sure you sign up by calling the Island Service Desk at 454-2282 or the Woodlands Service Desk at 454-2054. Now, next week, we have an exciting trip planned to the Lakes Park Botanical Garden in Fort Myers. Now, what's exciting about a garden? Well, first and foremost, this garden didn't exist before Shell Point resident Sue Moore helped to bring it to fruition, so to speak. As you can read on page 31 of your Shell Point Life magazine, Sue was recently honored by the Lee County Board of Commissioners for her work. And now you can see it firsthand as Sue offers a tour of the Lakes Park Botanical Gardens next Wednesday, April 24th, with court pickups starting at 8 a.m. Let's learn more about it.
It had a fragrance garden. And that fragrance garden was put in 28 years ago when the park was brand new. But after Hurricane Charlie, it fell upon hard times. The whole park really was totally changed. Park has given us 18 acres to expand into, which is a very large amount of property. We take up between 4.5 and 5 acres right now. Botanical garden has to be an educational component, meaning that all of the plants are labeled. That's the first thing. There are labels on all of the plants. We do tours, demonstrations. We have a beautiful rose garden. You don't think about roses growing in Florida, but there are heritage roses that have been bred and are very successful in Florida. So we do have a beautiful rose garden. Our prize collection really is a succulent garden. Succulents are cacti and other kinds of plants that store water. We have an agave with a 25-foot flower up in the air, 25 feet up. We will make our first stop at the vertical garden, showing people who do not have very much horizontal space to garden how they can use a vertical frame to grow plants. We are starting early in the morning. The pickup is at 8 o'clock. The first pickup is at 8, so we should be at the park by 9 and probably finish by 10:30 or 11. And be back here by 12, so we will miss the hottest part of the day. There are 4 different places that are shaded where people can sit down and rest if they need rest. And so rather than standing around to do my talking, I think we will go from gazebo to gazebo so people will be sitting while I do a bit of talking about what is there. It's great to get into the garden. You don't think about the fact that all of these plants are putting out tons of oxygen all the time. And that's what makes you feel so good about being in a garden, is all this oxygen here. Plants, of course, take in the carbon dioxide and exude the oxygen. And plants are the basis of life here on Earth or anywhere. Plants have the miraculous ability to take the energy from the sun and create, through photosynthesis, usable food. Without plants, there is no life. I have really dedicated a great part of the last 4 years of my life to this garden. I would be thrilled to have a full busload. Oh, it's going to be a wonderful day.
There's just something about being outside, enjoying the fresh air and sunshine, and getting a little bit of exercise. And as the days continue to heat up, the pool seems like the perfect place to do it. Now, unfortunately, our Island Health Club pool will soon be closing. But the good news is that we have plans to build an entirely new aquatic center, including a new, bigger exercise pool with warmer water and a ramp entry for those who have trouble with steps. We recently visited the Health Club pool during a packed morning aquasize class to learn why Shell Point residents love exercising in the water.
Today and all this week. I'm so excited for the new pool, aren't we, Mary?
We are. The new Aquatic Center will be breaking ground in several months. Are you all excited about the new? Yes. Right. What are you excited about, Sylvia?
I'm excited that we'll have more space for all of us.
Right.
You know, we sometimes cram in 21 here.
Yes. It's a little crowded in here.
It gets a little crowded. And we have, you can see we have a wonderful class. We're all friends. Poor Melanie, sometimes she tries to teach us and we're yakking away, but she keeps on, right?
Right.
But we do what she tells us.
Well, and I understand that because I just had the opportunity to take this class with you. And yes, I can feel my muscles, my core muscles and my thigh muscles, but you know what else? I feel my smile muscles a lot. I really do. What about, are you all excited to be able to have shade opportunities to cut the sun down a little bit? In the hot summer, it will be important to have that shade. You'll still have the breeze coming through a little bit, but you have that shade.
We'll probably be able to enjoy it more.
Right.
The pools more with more shade. I think that would be great. Also, I think it's great for the community because I think more people will be able to meet more people because I think it'll be more of a thing where instead of having separate pools, we'll be able to use one area, which I think will be great fun, especially for guests too.
Right. And another great opportunity is the entryway, having that ramp down into the therapy pool. It will still be a round pool with the ballet bars just like here, just bigger, plus the ramp entry. What does that mean to all of you maybe on an early morning getting into the pool?
There have been others who have had to stop coming because they could no longer go up and down the steps. So and who knows, maybe someday I'll have a problem too.
So you'll be able to take the class a little bit longer.
Right.
Yes. I know I talked to a lady who used to come to class several years ago, and she's now in a wheelchair, and she said, I wish I could still go to class. And I told her about it, and she is counting down to the days because she wants to rejoin this class. She wants to be in with all of you. So you were in the pool every single day. Every day for 30 minutes. Mike, what do you like about this class? What makes you want to get up and come even on a chilly day?
I like the exercise with the resistance of the water.
Right.
You don't feel like you're doing a whole lot, but when you get through with your exercise, you really know it.
Right.
And that's what I like about it.
You feel a little bit more flexible when you get out?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I am in a walker, and it makes me more flexible.
Right.
I would stiffen up, I'm sure, because I don't think I'd get in the exercise room. I've had too many operations.
Right.
So.
And when you're in the pool, you are doing things and moving your body that you could never dream of on land. Correct?
Right. Because I can't do it in an exercise room. I just am unable to do it. And this makes it wonderful. I really like it. And I love the camaraderie, too, because we just all have fun every day.
I think you all can agree on that. And you're getting your heart rates up for 30 minutes.
This is good cardiovascular exercise.
Yes.
And my my heart doctor said this is something I should do as often as I can.
Right.
And I try to be here every day when I don't have another schedule.
That's wonderful. We're looking for even more opportunities to be had at the new Aquatic Center. And if you're interested in being part of the new Aquatic Center and donating, you can call me, Dawn Boren, or Tim Stevenson, and we'd all love to have a conversation with you. I'm Mary Franklin with the wonderful aquatic class here at the Health Club Pool. Have a great and happy day.
Once again, if you'd like to get involved in the effort to build this new aquatic center, look at the spread on pages 14 and 15 of your Shell Point Life magazine. And then contact Tim Stevenson of the Legacy Foundation at 466-8484. And let's help this aquatic center vision bubble up to the surface. Well, who's interested in a little Southern comfort food? Yeah, me too. Well, hold on to your grits, folks, because Eleanor Perkins is sharing a What's Cooking recipe for sour cream, creamed corn, cornbread. This I gotta see.
Hello, I'm Ruth Duber, and this is What's Cooking at Shell Point. And I have a guest today, Eleanor Perkins. She's been on the show before, and I just love when I can have her back. But there's a big surprise this time. There's no butter in what she's cooking.
Right.
And that's very unusual because she's my butter lady.
That's right, that's right.
So she's going to make something special for you today. Sour cream, creamed cornbread.
This is a sour cream creamed cornbread. The cornmeal that you use needs to be cornmeal, not cornmeal mix. Cornmeal mix has flour in it, so you want just plain cornmeal.
And that's white. There is a yellow cornmeal.
It doesn't really matter. Whichever you can get, it doesn't matter, white or yellow.
Okay. All right.
And if you find plain cornmeal, then you have to add the baking powder and the salt to it. I use self-rising cornmeal, so mine already has the baking powder and the salt in it. So we will not be adding these two ingredients today, but the recipe tells you plain cornmeal what to add, and then if you use the self-rising, then you just do not put that in. So the first thing I do is mix my wet ingredients together, which are 2 eggs beaten up. Put those in the bowl. Then a small can of creamed style corn. And sometimes you can find that in yellow and white too, and that doesn't make a bit of difference. It's whatever you want to get. But the small can, don't get a big can.
And make sure it's the cream, not the
And make sure it's the cream. You will not have good cornbread if you put just corn little kernels in there. 1/3 of a cup of cooking oil. And that goes in there. And I just mix that up real good. And you've got the oven on to 400. Cut your oven on to 400. Be sure the oven is at 400 before you start mixing it up, because as soon as you add your cornmeal to your wet ingredients, of course, it activates the leavening. 1 cup, which is one of those small little cartons, Miss Ruth put it in this container, 1 cup of sour cream. And I'm going to have to get the little spatula to get all that wonderful sour cream out and mix it in there. If you mix your wet ingredients first, your moist ingredients, and have them all mixed, then it just does better than to put your dry in last. Kind of like when you're making a cake. It's not a whole lot different. And just get that mixed up good. Okay, 1 cup of cornmeal. Like I said, mine is the self-rising. Depends on where you shop. Sometimes it's easy to find the self-rises and sometimes it's not. But be sure that it is cornmeal only, because it will make a difference. You will not have the same product if you get the mix that has the flour in it. Okay. Just mix it up where all of that cornmeal is all incorporated in, and there are no little dry lumps in there. Then spread it out in your pan. This cornbread, not only is it wonderful when you cook it, but it freezes beautifully. I usually make it and we eat it all because I usually make it when we have company or something. But if I do it just for us, I put like 4 little pieces in a bag and I freeze them, and they're just wonderful when you get them out and reheat them. So it's not too much for one person just to make the whole recipe. Mm-hmm. You bake it at 400 degrees, 25 minutes until it's, you know, brown and done. My oven takes 25. This is what it looks like when it comes out, and the thickness of it. This size pan is just right for the right size thickness. And then you just cut. I cut it in not too big a slices. We'll cut these. You can cut them in smaller pieces. You can do whatever you want to do. And it's good. You do not have to butter this. I mean, of course, butter does make everything better, but you don't have to butter it. It is such a moist, delightful cornbread just all by itself.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
You try it and see.
Alrighty. Here we go.
I like it called, I love what I call breakfast cornbread, leftover cornbread with a cup of hot tea in the morning for breakfast, which is probably strange
there, you
to
can
most
see
people.
A little bit of the corn in there.
Yeah. But it's a good, you try it, Miss Ruth. I better taste it to be sure I did it right.
Perfectly moist, tender.
You can tell that warm it would just be, and it smells so good too. So it is just right.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Eleanor.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, I always love having you. Thank you, Eleanor. We'll put the recipe up on the website. I hope you'll try it. Bye-bye.
It's time now to cover all of Tuesday's happenings from Resort Services. Then stay tuned for your menus and Village Church connections.
Welcome to the happening segment of Shell Point TV. Today is Tuesday, April 16th, and I'm Suzanne Zavada, here to go over everything happening today. We'll start the morning off at 7:15 with the Bend, Breathe, and Balance Health Connection in the Health Club on the island. At 8 o'clock, the Ladies Golf Association will meet out at the Shell Point Golf Club. And also at 8 o'clock, we have the Round Robin Men's Doubles Tennis Group meeting out at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. At 8:15, the Stamp Ministry will be meeting in the Stamp Room on the island. And at 9 o'clock, we have bocce being played out at the bocce courts at the Woodlands. Also at 9, we have the Virtual Dementia Tour going until 4 o'clock, and it'll be in the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands. Call 454-2197 to RSVP. At 9:15, we have the Caregiver Support Group Therapy and the Memory Care Group meeting on the second floor of the Rehab Center on the island. Sign up is required. And also at 9:15, we have open painting taking place in the art studio on the tunnel. At 9:30, the Match Play Mixed Doubles Tennis Group will be out at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. And at 10:15, we have the Through the Bible Bible Study Group meeting in the Osprey Room on the island. At 10:30, the Caregiver Support Group Therapy and the Memory Care Group will be meeting again on the second floor of the Rehab Center. Sign up is required. We'll start the afternoon off at 12:30 with Mixed Progressive Bridge meeting in the game room at the Woodlands. And at 1:15, we have the Knitters Group meeting in the Osprey Room. Shuffleboard being played out on the shuffleboard courts. The Rollicking Recorderist will be in the Tarpon Room. And finally, we have the Women's Prayer Group meeting in the Hospitality Room of the Village Church. At 1:30, the Stamp Ministry will be meeting in the Sable Room at the Woodlands. And at 2 o'clock, we have a Health Connections Varicose Vein Treatment in the Oak Room at the Woodlands, and sign up is required. We have another Health Connections at 2:45, and this time it's Balance and Mobility Training Level 2 in the Health Club on the island. At 3 o'clock, there'll be a LifeQuest informational booth at the Commons lobby at the Woodlands. And at 4:30, we have a Health Connections Tai Chi Cha meeting in the Health Club on the island. Sign up is required. And at 4:30, we have a dinner outing to El Cielo, a dining sensation on Sanibel. Court pickups will begin at 4:30 on the island, 4:40 at the Woodlands, and 4:50 at Eagles Preserve. Sign up is required. I hope that you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you back here on Wednesday.
Menus for Tuesday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is roast pork loin with baked sweet potatoes and green beans. The dinner special is build your own stir fry for $11.95, and the soup is vegetarian vegetable. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Tuesday, enjoy an Italian meatball sub with chips for $6.95. The dinner special is Bayou Catfish with French fries and coleslaw for $7.95. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Tuesday are maple glazed pork tenderloin for $18.95 or Italian sausage for $13.95. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, welcome to the Village Church Connections. I'm Andy Hawkins, Senior Pastor of the Village Church, and I'm here today to talk to you, believe it or not, about the Puritans. And that's because a number of people have recognized in the short time that I've been here, Puritan literature seems to surface from time to time in my messages. And so someone thought that it might be a good idea to talk a little bit about that and to maybe get you reacquainted or acquainted in the first place about a group of people who wrote some wonderful Christian literature. Now, it's interesting, as I've begun teaching here, you might have remembered that I started a series just this past Sunday evening called The Last Revelation of Christ. And that series actually was inspired by a book that I read a number of years ago by a 17th century English Puritan by the name of William Greenhill. And his book was entitled Christ's Last Disclosure of Himself. And it's really about the last couple of verses in the book of Revelation, the last opportunity that Jesus takes to actually tell us something about himself before the conclusion of Scripture. And it's a wonderful, insightful study that I found worth actually building into a sermon series. We also might remember that back in the fall when I candidated here, I preached on 1 Corinthians 13. And I used a number of insights from Jonathan Edwards in his wonderful treatise on 1 Corinthians 13 called Charity and Its Fruits. And so Puritan literature has been very important in a lot of the thinking that I have been engaged in, and it tends to show up from time to time in some of my messages. Now, you might wonder, well, who were the Puritans? It's kind of interesting. Someone wants to find a Puritan as someone who was very concerned that somebody somewhere might be having a good time. Now, that's obviously a caricature, and it was usually the kind of caricature that was very frequent with respect to the enemies of the Puritans. Actually, the Puritans were a very joyful people. They sought to live for the glory of God and to apply biblical Christianity to every aspect of life. And they loved life, and they celebrated life, and so they were anything but joyless. At the same time, they have been misrepresented in many respects over the years. Now, were they a perfect people? Well, heavens no, they were not a perfect people. They had their blind spots like everybody else does. But because they sought to apply biblical Christianity to every area of life, they produced some wonderful Christian literature. Generally speaking, the Puritans lived in the 17th and 18th centuries, mainly in England, but also in America. You might know that Jonathan Edwards was an American Puritan, as was George Whitefield. But there has been an increased interest in scholarship among or about Puritans in recent years, among those in universities and seminaries. One example of that is this extraordinary volume by Joel Beakey and Mark Jones entitled Puritan Theology, Doctrine for Life. I mean, in a book like this, that's just been recently produced, examining various dimensions of Puritan thought on a whole range of biblical issues. And there have been a lot of books that have been rewritten of the Puritans that have made them accessible to those of us modern Americans. And so, for instance, I have a whole pile of them here. Books like The True Christian's Love to the Unseen Christ, one of my favorites. Christopher Love's Grace. book on grace, and then a compilation of Puritan writings on loving one another are all books that have been produced by Sola Deo Gloria Publishing, which is now owned by Reformation Trust publishers. I have a number of favorites that I have loved to enjoy, and as a matter of fact, one of the things that I've very much treasured in my own devotional life is a little book called The Valley of Vision, and it's a book that has Puritan prayers and poems and devotions, and I find myself almost daily reading something out of this particular book that I think is a great treasure. I'd like to give you just a brief insight into one of the quotations that I like very much to give you a flavor of some of the writing of the Puritans. This is from Jonathan Edwards, and it has to do with his description of heaven. And he writes this: "But oh, what rest there is in that world which the God of peace and love fills with his own gracious presence, and in which the Lamb of God lives and reigns, filling it with the brightest and sweetest beams of his love, where there is nothing to disturb or offend, and no being or object to be seen that is not surrounded with perfect amiableness and sweetness, where the saints shall find and enjoy all that they love, and so be perfectly satisfied." And he goes on and on and on, listing the wonderful attributes of heaven. And so you can get a taste of what Puritan literature is like and how encouraging it can be, and I would very much invite you to be interested in Puritan literature. If you're interested in the Puritans themselves and the kind of thought, I would highly recommend a modern book about them by J.I. Packer called A Quest for Godliness. This is an excellent introduction to the Puritans. We actually have this one in our church library. At least it'll be in our church library when I sneak it back in there this afternoon, because I just took it out here just for this show. But A Quest for Godliness is an excellent introduction to Puritan literature. And then if you're interested in another Puritan book, I'd be happy to talk to you about the kinds of books you might be interested in, and then give you some suggestions, and I'll even order them for you. So just contact me at the Village Church, and I'd be happy to make that kind of connection, suggest some resources that might be interesting and helpful for you. But I would very much encourage you to examine Puritan literature if you're a serious believer, because they really did have a great deal of insight into the Scriptures and into how to apply the Scriptures in every dimension of life. So thank you for joining us in Village Church Connections, and we'll look forward to seeing you very soon.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in tomorrow as we look ahead to Thursday's performance of Shell Point's own theater, On the Air. We'll also meet Dr. John Moore, a lifelong educator who also served as Deputy Director of the National Science Foundation. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for Tuesday, April 16th. I'm Jared Pike, and from all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.